Hello and welcome back to Rex 121, Part 4, Endgame. I think that title may be taken. We are looking once again at this, the apex of knife steels. This was the little project that really, despite this not any longer being the highest result thanks to a non-steel, the tungsten carbide, this is still what I kind of hang my hat on as the, seeking out the best in knife steel. Because the TCK, the little tungsten carbide knife test you've seen me do before, that's more of a little utility kind of experiment, I would put it. This is a proper knife, and this is a proper knife in what I think is, in terms of steel, probably the highest you can currently get in terms of edge retention. I may be wrong, there may be a more bleeding edge competitor out there. At any rate, 69 Rockwell Rex 121 on a Creely blade Mako, a very fine little knife to be sure. I have two of them in fact. It is time to see how this one goes with a bit more of a, well, what I've done so far, I've had initial testing, which I believe was 17 degrees, which I did on a Lansky setup, went up to 2000 grit, and that did 950 cuts. Then I had old mate Jethro over at Knife Support. Jethro put on a very fine, highly polished 13 degree, I believe, convex edge. And that was the best so far. 1300 times that cut through the rope. A huge improvement. And then I thought, well, maybe being a high carbide steel, it likes a coarse, rough edge. So I put a 300 grit finish on it, which didn't work so well. It went to about 500 or so, but my conclusion was it was probably almost too coarse and bundling up or bunching up with bits of rope crud between the actual teeth, making it, a gummed up knife, to use a highly technical term. So what I've done today is I've gone to 600 grit and then I've finished it with a Tormek strop. So what we should have now is something of an edge that should use the carbides that are, there, the coarse sort of chunky vanadium carbides, the big tungsten carbides, all the cool stuff that's in Rex 121 on the screen now. And while still being a little less toothy, so hopefully not getting blocked up with crud, if that was what was happening in the first time. So what I'm looking to do, I want this knife one day to beat that TCK. Whether that's possible or not, I'm not sure, but I'm certainly going to try. So let's get this, the king of knife steels, and take it to the place where the knife steels go to see what they're worth, the Knife Lab. Yeah, Smash Brothers Ultimate, it is a blessing and a curse. Let's get to it. Okay, so somewhere between 1180 and 1200, it lost its ability to do these sorts of cuts and began doing this sort of thing where it sort of snags and then tears. So that in my testing is where it no longer has that absolute apex sharpness. So not quite catching Jethro's 1300 or whatever it was result, but for my own sharpening work, 1180 to 1200, I'm pretty damn happy with that. That's good. That's a good result. And reaffirming that this is a steel like very few others. On a pretty, you know, this isn't like a paper thin knife either. It's got good geometries behind the edge and whatnot. But, you know, if you put this steel on like a chef's knife or something, I don't know how much rope you could cut, but it would be a lot. So yeah, that's the Rex 121 at 69. For the sake of my usual testing, I'd call that 1200 cuts. So, pretty impressive. And another thing you notice, I didn't wear gloves with this knife, and that is because I don't need to with this knife. Oh yeah, I've got a bit of like fatigue, but this grip for a small user knife is absolutely unbeatable. 1200 cuts with this feels like, you know, it's equal to like 200 cuts with most other knives. It's an excellent handle and an excellent little knife. If you don't know what these are Creely Makos. So just Google that. Maybe I'll put a link down the bottom. I'm not sponsored. I shed door. This isn't sponsored in any stretch, but I do wholeheartedly approve of Gary's work. So a nice little, probably my favourite little fixed blade, I would say. The JX6 is also a very, very good contender, and the LT Wright Patriot's very nice as well, but I think this is definitely my favourite. And of course I have the CPM Crewwear one that I actually use as my, like, you know, outdoors fixed blade. For me, this is just my steel nerd piece that I use pretty much for this job and this job only. So yes, thank you very much for watching this video. Merry Christmas to you, Gary. You've got a nice little wife there looking out for you. And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye now.